You're a mum, you're a mum, you're a busy mum. Come listen to the Busy Mum podcast. Life hacks and inspiration for the busy modern mum.
Our latest sponsor for the Busy Mum podcast is Amelia from Wonder Birthing. Wonder Birthing supports pregnant women and their partners on their exciting journey into early parenthood. Some of their offerings include birth education courses, including hypnobirthing, relaxation, and birth partner preparation for all those dads out there. Amelia also offers doula support during pregnancy, birth, and postnatal periods. So if you need this, please contact Amelia on 04 98 57 8601 or visit her website at www.wonderbirthing.com.au. Now let's dive into the latest interview on the Busy Mum podcast. Okay, Gwen, welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. How are you this afternoon?
Good. Very happy to be here.
Excellent. Now, your story is amazing, really. Like, we are the true modern family, me and you, I reckon. We were just talking a little bit off air about how complicated families can get through just one divorce, right? So
definitely. Tell
me a little bit about yourself. How do you define yourself and what's your business about? How did that come about and all that jazz?
Cool. So my name's Gwen. I'm 32. I've got two small boys. I've got a 4.5-year-old who is very cheeky. He likes to push the boundaries, including getting lost at the zoo yesterday for a solid 10 minutes. Like zookeepers were looking for him and everything. So that's my 4-year-old Austin. That is not an experience I want to go through again.
No.
And then I have a 3-year-old son Jarvis, so I've got 19 months between my boys, so we've had some pretty hectic times in the last few years. I live in Melbourne these days with my husband. He was actually born in Texas but moved to Australia as a teenager. He lived everywhere in the US as well, so he's got a very diverse accent, so most people think he's actually Irish for some reason.
Okay.
I don't quite see that, but apparently other people do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we live in Melbourne now. I grew up in WA and I really don't think I will ever get used to Melbourne weather, the absolute extremes. Like even last Friday, it went from 44 to 24 in literally a couple of hours. Like the Melbourne weather is just beyond ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just...
How do you dress weird for that? It's like, oh, I'm in a bikini now. Oh, now I'm rugged up like an Eskimo.
It is literally like that. Melbourne weather is so unique. And then the winters are just ridiculously cold as well. So it's just not... Melbourne... I love Melbourne as a city, and I lived in Perth, Sydney and Melbourne, and I think I prefer Melbourne as a city, but I prefer Perth's weather by far.
Okay, so I live in Sydney. How do you compare the Sydney lifestyle to the Melbourne lifestyle? Like, why do you prefer Melbourne over, say, Sydney? We all get why you prefer it over Perth, but that's not the question.
Perth's changed, Jackie. It's changed. Getting there, but it's taking a while. I spent 12 months in Sydney on my way to Melbourne. I actually moved interstate twice in 12 months with literally all I could fit in a car. And I also went to Sydney without a job. So I took a bit of a chance there, but it all worked out quite well. But Sydney I found to be very insular. Like it was 12 months there. I had a few friends I knew from my time in Perth, and there was a couple of Perth friends that had also moved across. But it was a case of, I found that everyone that grows up in Sydney remains friends with their friends. And if you're an expat to Sydney, you will generally only make friends with other people that have also moved into Sydney.
Yes, the orphans of Sydney, we call them.
Yeah. I just really felt as though 12 months isn't an extensively long time, but it was a case of in the time I was there, it's a very pretty city and there was nothing hard about my life in Sydney. I was living in Paddington, working down in Circular Quay. I decided I wasn't going to live in Sydney for long, so I might as well pay extortionate amounts of rent and be close to the city and enjoy myself. But, yeah, it was just not a place that I think long-term I could settle in terms of making a group of friends and a group of my support network, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Melbourne's better. Why? You find even the Melburnians, true Melburnians, like accepted you? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's obviously I've been here a lot longer than I spent in Sydney, but I just found that generally people were a lot more friendly. I've got friends that grew up here, and obviously I didn't. Whereas, and then I also do tend to make a lot of friends that are essentially orphans as well. So we tend to do orphans Christmases and things like that. But yeah, I just think that it's a much more friendly city. It's a much cheaper city real estate wise.
Oh yes, we all know this. Yes.
Because there was actually when my oldest was about 4 months old, the potential opportunity for a job transfer for my husband came up, and we kind of looked at it and we were like, to kind of get a house where we want to live, you'd either double your mortgage or move double the distance from the city. And we were like, yeah, no, I think we'll stay here. It's a bit of a better option.
Look, I think you made the right decision. We live in Sydney. The way we've done it, though, is our business is within walking distance from our house and the school. So, like, you can, like, save costs that way. But it still is, like, you end up paying for a two-bedder. Yeah. Like $7.20 per week. I know most people are just going to be like, oh, my God. But, yes, that's what it costs. That's what you're paying. But you do have, like, as you said, it is a pretty city. Like, we are literally a 2-minute walk from water, which in Australia, that's pretty special, I think. And there's a lot of water advantages, like vantage points, like because of the canals and stuff. So that's definitely. Oh, hello. What kind of dog do you have?
I've got two. They're also currently being a problem in our life. We've got two cavoodles, but one's nearly 6 and one's nearly 5 months.
Oh God. Okay.
And the puppy is deciding he wants to rule the roost and is being quite mean to our older dog. So we kind of got our first, so our oldest dog, Stella, she was our firstborn. She was here before we had kids. You know, my husband absolutely dotes on her. And then we kind of thought, now the kids are getting older, we kind of like two dogs, so maybe we'll get her a friend. And then we got George. And he's lovely, he really is, but he can be a bit of a meanie to Stella. He's trying to rule the roost. So, yes, he's creating lots of fun in our house at the moment, that's for certain.
And cavoodles as a breed, what do you think about them? You obviously love them. What's the good points of the cavoodle?
So when we were looking to get another dog, we did look at other options, but the fact that they don't molt is huge. So with the poodle crosses, they don't... You have to get them clipped, which is not always the cheapest scenario, but it's better than vacuuming hair up off your floor every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I suppose Stella is much more of the cavalier. So she is super friendly. She has a limitation with our kids, but she is a friendly dog. She's a lap dog. She's so cuddly. You know, most mornings I'll wake up and her head will be next to mine on the pillow. Like she just wants to be with the family. George is a little bit more aloof. Like he's probably, Stella's much more of a cavalier personality when George is much more of a poodle personality. Okay. So I think ultimately I'd love to have a King Charles Cavalier, but they lose their hair and then they've got a couple of health problems. Like a lot of them have heart problems and they tend to be quite overweight. So we were like, well, let's go the cross. And you can get more of the personality of the Cavalier without all the problems.
Well, okay, let's go into your business a little bit. It's called Love Aunty Amy. Can you tell me a little bit about this business, when you started it, why you started it, and how is it going now for you?
So Love Aunty Amy launched in March 2017. After my second child, Jarvis, was born, I was ready to get back to doing some work. And prior to having Jarvis, I was working as a virtual assistant doing kind of contract EA type work. And I did enjoy that. But with two kids, the time availability was changing. And when I got my lovely newborn gifts for Jarvis and for Austin, my first, there was some really useful stuff and there was some really bad stuff, to be honest with you. And I tended to find that the people that had kids gave you the better presents and the people that haven't had kids didn't give you, like, sometimes they were really pretty and really lovely but really not that useful. So I kind of did a bit of research and could identify that there's a lot of people out there that need some help with buying gifts and just need a little bit of guidance. But there's also a lot of small businesses out there that make beautiful products and they just need some help in getting that exposure as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started working through that and realised that the target market was, for me, very much your aunties, that, you know, your child-free aunties that have got a bit of cash to spoil their favourite person but not the know-how of where to start, I started playing around with business ideas. And when I kind of thought about aunties, one of my thoughts was my sister. So when I was 23, my sister Amy passed away. She was 25 and she had a stroke. But when Amy passed away, we had a nephew. So our oldest nephew is Jet. He actually just turned 10 last week. So yeah, I'm one of three girls. My sister Amy passed away, and then I have another sister, Claire, and Claire and Amy are actually identical twins.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So
every time you look at Claire, do you see Amy?
No, I don't agree with that. Okay. And I also like people that will tell you, like I know of people that will say, oh, I can't see such and such because it reminds me of my husband and stuff like that. I don't agree with that. Like Amy and Claire look, like I say, they are identical twins. They look very similar, but I don't. Maybe it's because our relationship's obviously so close as sisters, but I don't look at Claire and think that it's Amy. Yeah. There's been really awkward times where in public, not long after Amy died, someone has thought Claire was Amy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
So there's been situations like that. But, yeah, no, I don't see it as that. I find it we've found it really hard because, you know, when someone passes away, there's all those key dates and there's all those things that you miss, and birthdays is a really big one.
Yeah.
But how do you kind of acknowledge that it's Amy's birthday, but then it's also Claire's birthday, and then how does she get older without her twin that she's never gotten older without? And,
yeah. That's really difficult. Like how, because that was, what, 9 years ago now. We're going into the 10th year. Because then you don't just have the birthdays as well. You've got the anniversary of the passing, which is devastating as well. And then all the other...
all the anniversaries can be ridiculously tough. But I think I know Claire always found their birthday so... Your birthday is meant to be a happy time, but Claire couldn't find any space to be happy when it wasn't with Amy. And so at least with, like, the anniversary is always ridiculously hard, and you have all those reminders and those memories and what you were doing at this time and this time and this time, but at least you can all be sad but focus on the memories, whereas with the birthday it was you want to be sad because they're gone, but then Claire also has a right when she was ready to acknowledge that she's also getting older, and like she's got 2 kids that wanted to celebrate. They wanted to be like, it's Mum's birthday. And just a few years ago, Claire actually found a way of managing, and she actually they have their birthday, and Claire decides that that's her day that she can be upset and sad, and, you know, that's the birthday. But then she actually has a celebration day about 4 or 5 days later. So
okay. Oh, that's good.
So then she gets her day to be celebrated, and her boys get a day to be like, it's Mum's birthday, here's your presents, here's some cake, and Claire doesn't have to be like, yay, it's my birthday, oh my God, I just want to lie in bed and cry all day. Like, it's that happy medium.
So I'll just ask one more question and then I'll move on, because I know it's really affecting you and I don't want to see you cry. She passed away from a stroke. How do you get a stroke at 25? That's and is that hereditary? And do you guys need to then go and get scans?
Unborn babies can have strokes. So people assume that strokes are something that happen to older people, but it can affect young people as well. It's just probably not as common. Amy's stroke was quite unique. She had a couple of medical things that complicated it further. So when Amy was 11, she actually had a massive cardiac arrest, and they realised that both Amy and Claire had a heart condition that meant they needed a pacemaker.
Oh, okay.
So when they were 11, they both got pacemakers.
Wow.
And then Amy was always more affected by that than Claire. Like I say, she had the cardiac arrest, but it was lucky that she survived, because then they realised what was wrong. Otherwise, we could have easily lost Claire as well.
Mm. I'm sorry to ask you those questions. I really am.
I don't know if all my answers made sense then, but hopefully the gist of it came through.
It did. I'll move on to the next question, which is really basic compared to that question. Just describe for us a day in the life of you. Do you have any tips or life hacks or tricks to get through the day now?
From a mum perspective, so like I say, I've got two small boys. They're 19 months apart in age, and we have no family in Victoria, so we do a lot of things solo. My kids seem to be allergic to sleep even now. I do not understand why. Sleep is like the best thing ever.
I know.
Why do kids not like sleep?
I don't know. I do not know.
But yeah, so pretty much our days, my husband's gone pretty much 6 till 6, 5 days a week. Generally the kids are up before he goes, and if they're not, it's called a sleep in. We're actually about to have a massive change in our house, because they've been going to daycare 2 days a week, which gives me time to work on Love Aunty Amy. But as of Monday, my oldest is actually swapping to sessional kinder. So, and I've actually chosen it this way, which may be my long-term downfall, but here in Victoria, sessional kinder, they run different timetables, and I've chosen a timetable for Austin, which is 5 hours, 3 days a week, and then my youngest will do daycare 2 days a week, so I'm going to have 10 hours a week without kids for work, but it also means that I get Wednesday and Friday afternoons just Austin and I.
Yeah,
and I'll also have 5 hours with Jarvis. So I kind of feel as though with Austin, he was a baby, I was pregnant, and then I had another kid. So I decided this year that we'll juggle it all around and have some quality time. And look, there will be days that I'll pick him up from kinder and I'll come home and work and he'll watch TV, and that's just what it'll be. But hopefully there'll be times where it'll be pick up from kinder and let's go do something fun, just the two of us, before he starts at full-time school next year. So...
Well, that's important to have that one-on-one time. I have been known to pull out my 9-year-old from school and gone, let's go to the movies.
Fun mum, right?
One day isn't going to, it's not going to ruin it. And, when they're doing well, like, you got to reward those good behaviours as well. But, I think I've, pounded into my kids, I won't reward bad behaviour. So, if I'm being naughty, they go, Mum, I'm not going to reward that bad behaviour. And I'm like, oh, stop it, parrots, little parrots, So, yeah, just be careful what you say to them, because they will grab it and throw it back at you.
I'm sure they will. But, yeah, so pretty much once we adjust to our new timetable, I'll be interested to see how we go. But it's not like, I'm lucky in the fact that daycare is a 15-minute walk from home. Kinder is literally going to be a 1-minute walk from home out my back gate.
Awesome.
Yeah, that doesn't get any better than that. So it's going to be an adjustment for our house, but I think it'll just be a matter of being organised, which I am an organised person. That's me. I have actually recently instated a rule in our house that the kids aren't allowed to watch TV in the mornings, even if they're up at 5, until they're dressed, because
you got to do it.
Yeah, well, I used to be like, okay, it's early, I can't function, here's the TV, and sort myself out. But now it's like, no, you can get dressed and then you can go and do whatever you like, because stopping them from watching TV to go and get dressed or have breakfast was just an absolute nightmare. So that one doesn't happen anymore. But, yeah, I think we'll just have to get very organised with the new adjustment in our timetable. And then I'm also a bit worried how the boys are going to go, because they just love being at daycare together. They're in different rooms, but they'll often be playing in the yard together and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to have a few tantrums
Yeah, you will. You will. Just accept it.
Them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go, okay, this is what it is today. This is what we're doing.
Pretty much.
Okay, so what is the best advice you've received?
In a work sense, it was from my sister Claire, actually, was to dress for the position that you want, not what you have. So I remember being in my first office job at 18 or 19, and I was trying to make an effort, but like I remember my style back then wasn't exactly refined, and it was like I remember it was not a casual office, but it was an office that wasn't law, like it wasn't suits and ties. And trying to take my jeans and t-shirt style to office appropriate. I think I missed the mark a few times. But Claire's comment to me was, you know, if you dress for what the position you want, then you're going to make the right impression to get there. And I also relate that to being at home too. So working from home, sometimes there's no reason to, well, apart from daycare and drop off, to get out of your pajamas, but I can't work like that. Like even if I've done a workout after I drop off the boys, which is rare, I have to go and shower. I normally try and do it before I drop them off. I have to get out of my workout clothes, and it's just I've got to get into some actual nice clothes so that I'm feeling like I'm working, because working from home can be like same stuff, different day. Yeah, like am I mum? Am I working? Am I being me? Like there's never a huge kind of differentiation, although I do tend to wear the same work clothes as to going out clothes and all that kind of stuff, because, you know, mum wardrobes aren't really that big.
You just change the shoes.
Pretty much. Add some heels and it's a totally different outfit.
And a necklace, some bigger earrings, done.
So yeah, I kind of always bring it back to that. It's just kind of, it's all about heading to where you want to be in life, not so much about where you're at.
Cool. No, I like that. Okay, so where do you go to get your entertainment? Is it Netflix, YouTube, podcast? Are you a book reader?
I've tried podcasts, and there's a few that I like, particularly yours.
I'll give you the money later.
But I'm always bad for listening to them when I'm trying to do something else. So I don't fully take them in. But then I've tried listening to podcasts while I cook dinner, and then that doesn't really work very well either, because it's like chop, 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 listen, yell, 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 go and get someone something, go to the toilet to help someone there. Like it's
hang out the washing and listen to them, because that's kind of uninterrupted, kind of.
Yeah,
go for a walk.
Walking with podcasts tends to work. And then I know lots of people listen to podcasts in the car, but like I'm never really in the car very long, particularly without children. And then obviously they tend to overrule that one.
Yeah, Wiggles, bring it on.
My husband tells the kids sometimes if we don't have any kids songs in the car, so we sometimes compromise in the car. There's a TV show called Beat Bugs, which is all based on the Beatles.
Oh.
So it's actually quite good, and they've actually had some really big stars, like Pink does a cover song in there and stuff like that. So we compromise on Beat Bugs in the car sometimes.
Oh, that's all right.
Because it's actually, like, as an adult you can listen to it, but no, kids' songs get overruled. But I do like Netflix. I tend to be a fan of some complete and utter trash, though.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for reality TV. It's a weakness of mine. I think it's just mindless. Like,
you should go on one of the shows. You know, you can go to the casting call or something like that, and you can be on the block. Be like a dream. People can watch you on the telly.
Someone said to me recently, have I watched Yummy Mummies on Netflix?
Oh, my God. Yeah, yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it twice. My kids love it.
I could not get through one episode. Like, I love trashy. Like, I love watching the Kardashians, that kind of stuff. But Yummy Mummies, I was just like, this is just
cringe.
I know.
But, I this is how sad I am, right? So I watched it, and then my kids wanted to watch it again. And I'm like, oh, it's just background noise for me. But then I look up their Instagrams, and they all got like 170,000 followers, and they've got the kid that they're pregnant with is 2.5 years old.
Yeah.
So this was made years ago.
Yes. And where did it ever air to start with?
I think this is where it aired on Netflix.
Like just recently?
Yeah, that's it.
And then they've just taken off.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So they would have gotten probably $1 million for it because Netflix spends so much money on content. Yeah. And they would have gone, yeah, we'll have that. And it's on trending. You know, it's like one of the first or second ones that pop up on trending. So it's doing really well. And apparently there's a second season coming out too. Because on the Instagram feed of Yummy Mummies, why do I know so much about this? Just kill me now. Yeah, there's new people introducing themselves. I'm like, what is going on? So there's going to be a second series.
Wow. It's obviously high-rating content. This is what people love. No. But I suppose I actually said something about this recently about, like, Insta stories. It's our own personal reality TV. Like, we're in our own Truman Show these days with social media. And I suppose that's why everyone loves reality TV as well. It's not that different to... It's
not as polished as well. Like, we don't like it being too polished.
Yeah, true.
You know. Although, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, I do feel sad that I know that, like, scripted TV is really taking a hit because they can't get funding because it costs too much to create it as well. So I do feel a bit sad that there's, you know, some of the more classics that, like, things like Offspring and stuff like that that were amazing.
I love that. They should keep doing that.
Although the last few seasons haven't been quite so good of Offspring.
Right. It's okay. They just need better writers, that's all.
The first house that Nina lived in on Offspring was actually around the corner from one of the first place I lived here in Melbourne.
Oh, my God.
And I used to be walk past and be like, hi, Nina.
Oh, that's so sad. Okay, so apart from improving that part of your life, what other areas of your life would you like to improve?
I would definitely love to work on the work-life balance, so to speak.
That doesn't exist, you know. It doesn't
No, I don't think it does.
I know you want that, but...
It's good. So working for myself is kind of my only option to a certain extent from a work perspective, with a husband that does long hours. And, like, if I ever have to ask him to do daycare pickup for some reason, he's like, oh, I probably can't get there till nearly 6:30 because there's X, Y, or Z meeting that day. So I've just kind of accepted that my life has to be, my work has to work around me, and I can't go to a normal 9-to-5 job or that kind of thing. Maybe one day school hours. But then with working for yourself, the computer's always here. And so there's always things to do, and it's just like,
look,
you know.
I've been working for myself now for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I still haven't got it. I haven't got the work-life balance. Like, I'm a bit of a workaholic. So, like, if I'm not working at work, I'm working on the podcast. If I'm not working on the podcast, I'm doing all the work stuff at home. Like, you know, there's cooking, cleaning, you know, just being a mum, like spending some quality time with the kids, taking the kids to swimming, taking them to flute, taking them to keyboard. Like, it just, I think we just, as mums, have to accept the fact that we're going to be busy for the next 18 years of our life, and then we'll get a break.
Yes.
So don't beat yourself up too much if you don't get that nice harmony, because it's hard. It's hard work, but you need a little break every now and again.
Well, I think the thing I need to work on as well is I never used to be a night person. Like, I remember being in my early 20s and like Monday to Friday, there used to be, I think it used to be All Saints, used to finish at 9:30 at night, and that would be my bedtime, and off I went.
Yeah.
But now, like, I'm not in bed until 10:30, 11 o'clock, because by the time you do a bit of work or a bit of life and then you sit down and watch some TV and wind down, it just gets that late. And then, like I say, I have kids that are allergic to sleep, so I could be up multiple times overnight. Most nights we end up with 4 in a bed, plus the dogs.
Oh, my God.
And then someone's generally up from 5. So I kind of sit there and think, I should go to bed earlier. But then if I went to bed earlier, I'd never have that.
Missing out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd never have my time to watch Yummy Mummies.
Yeah, exactly. And that is something is worth watching. Get back to me on that. Okay, so I'll move on to the last question. Then I've just got quick questions and I can let you get on with your day. What's your greatest fear and how do you deal with it?
So considering I lost my sister when I was 23, I really look at life now and I really don't want it to pass me by. So I remember just as I turned 25, I felt as though like I had nothing to show for life. I felt as though if I was in a similar situation and I, for whatever reason, died when I was 25, what mark did I have to leave on the world and what would I be remembered for? And kind of coincidentally, within a month of me turning 25 and thinking all those thoughts, I had my first date with my husband. Yeah, like it was...
You put it out there.
Yeah, I think so. And my husband and I actually knew each other for 5 years before we got together. We actually met through an ex-boyfriend of mine who was a massive mistake in my life, but I spent all that time with him to obviously meet my husband, so it was worth it. But, yeah, I kind of remember being, turned 25, what do I have to show for it? I want to do something more with my life, and then my husband turns up. Or we had a date and it kind of went from there. So I kind of think in life that I'm trying to make the most of it in terms of, look, I'd love to go and save the world and do all those big things, but that's just never going to happen. But I really do try and make an effort to improve my life and the people around me as well. There's some really lovely families I've been lucky enough to meet through Instagram that are having a really tough time, and occasionally there's ways I can help them do that kind of thing. So for me, having kids was a huge achievement for me. I was so grateful to be able to call myself a mum. And sometimes I feel as though I get a little bit lost in the mum life and me life. But, yeah, I'd really just would hate to get to a point that I haven't made any mark on the world. And I do think that mark, like I say, could be small. It could be literally making someone smile once a day. But for me, that means that life's not passing me by. I'm living it. I'm enjoying it. So I try and find a happy medium between living for the here and now, but not being too completely ridiculous and not planning for the future and all that kind of jazz. So that, long term it's easier. But, yeah, I'm a big believer in not waiting for someday.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. Now I've only got 3 quick questions and then I'll let you get on with your day.
Yes.
Question number 1, what websites have you signed up to recently that you actually find value in receiving the emails?
So many emails out there. It is epic, my inbox some days, which I think is everyone's inbox really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although I try and filter out the more important ones like sales at Adair's. They're pretty important. Another kind of spam email about how I can get 1,000 followers on Instagram for $9, which actually happened yesterday. I was like, okay.
They're not real followers.
No, and they'll disappear. It's not worth your $9. But I've actually been reading all the books by Lisa Messenger. Mm-hmm. And I've signed up to her mailing list. Although, strangely enough, now that I think about it, I've never actually received an email from her apart from my confirmation one. So maybe there's something coming there. But her books are actually really good. So they're really worth reading.
Okay.
On a front.
What is one piece of advice you would give your pre-baby self?
Love your body more. I remember being in my early 20s and being so hung up on what my body looked like and being skinny and everything like that. And it doesn't matter, I've still got a couple of kilos of baby weight on me and my youngest is 3 years old, so it's not really baby weight anymore. But I just don't think I appreciated my body for what it was before it had kids. Like, I think it was like I always wanted it to be something too different from what it was. And now I look back and I'm like, if I ever appreciated how skinny I was in my early 20s,
Yeah,
rather
same.
than thinking I wasn't.
Same. I want that body back. I want that 20-year-old body back. Come on, boobs. Don't hit the floor. Reach to the sky,
Let's get that back. So, yeah, I think for me it would be that. It would be more about appreciating what my body was for what it was and not wishing it was something different.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And final question, what is the most useful and useless baby item you have?
The most useful, I really think, is a good baby carrier. So, like I say, I've got 19 months between my two boys. So, and both of them were pretty unhappy little babies. The first had a dairy intolerance, and I eventually stopped breastfeeding him because if I had like literally the smallest amount of dairy, like even if I had butter on toast, he would scream for 6 hours. And I remember going out once and I got a little bit of dairy somehow in my food and he just screamed and it wasn't worth it. So I used to carry him a lot. And then my second had colic, so I used to carry him a lot. And you also had to carry him a lot when you're running after a toddler. So a baby carrier was my lifesaver. Like it was, yeah, without that, we would have never had clean clothes. We never would have had food to eat. And I would have had a toddler that watched TV all the time while I sat and held a baby. So baby carriers are totally worth their weight in gold.
And the useless, you've put down a useless one, which I think I agree with you here.
Nappy bins.
I know.
I loved them for a while, but then...
Who wants to keep that waste in the room, though?
Yeah,
like,
and
seriously.
they're so expensive.
I know. Did you have the push-down, turn-around one? Like you push it down, turn, push, turn. Then you get a whole string of them and you're like, why do I want a string of shit? I don't know. Like, that's just disgusting.
I remember a friend saying, it's a poo sausage.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, Gwen, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been amazing to chat with you this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no worries.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Busy Mum podcast. Don't forget to let your friends know and also subscribe to the iTunes channel and also my socials if you want to see what I'm getting up to. A brand new episode is out every Monday morning, just like clockwork.